It's late at night and you're sitting alone. The house is quiet, but your mind is anything but. Memories, doubts, and ideas swirl like a storm. You pick up your phone to distract yourself, scrolling endlessly, but somehow the emptiness grows louder. Sound familiar? In today's hyper-connected world, moments of true solitude have become rare and even frightening for some. But what if I told you that solitude isn't something to fear? It's actually a secret weapon for personal growth and clarity. Here's the truth. The greatest minds in history, from Marcus Aurelius to modern visionaries, have all embraced solitude. Why? Because being alone isn't just about silence. It's about tapping into your potential, mastering your emotions, and creating a life of purpose. But most people miss this. They confuse solitude with loneliness, avoiding it at all costs. So let me ask, are you ready to see solitude differently? To stop running from it and start using it to transform your life? In this video, we'll explore how to embrace solitude with strategies grounded in Stoic philosophy and backed by modern psychology. If this resonates with you, hit the like button and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official. Together we'll uncover the power of Stoicism to help you live boldly and intentionally. Let's dive in. You're about to see solitude in a whole new light. Use solitude to fuel creativity. Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul, said Marcus Aurelius. It's a powerful reminder that solitude is not just a state of being alone, it's a space where creativity and clarity flourish. But for one man, the idea of solitude felt more like a curse than an opportunity. He worked tirelessly in a demanding job, constantly surrounded by people and noise. His days were filled with meetings, deadlines, and endless emails. By the time he got home, he craved silence, yet when it arrived, it felt deafening. One evening, while staring at a blank canvas in his studio, he realized he couldn't remember the last time he created something truly his own. He felt stuck, uninspired, and disconnected from the creative spark that once defined him. Frustrated, he turned to the Stoics. Their teachings about solitude intrigued him. They spoke not of isolation, but of intentional moments alone. A retreat into oneself to nurture the mind. He decided to change how he viewed his time alone. Instead of seeing it as a void to fill, he began treating it as a blank canvas, ready for possibilities. One weekend, he drove to a quiet cabin by the lake with nothing but a notebook, some pencils, and his thoughts. The silence was overwhelming at first, but something incredible happened. As the hours passed, ideas began to flow. Without the constant buzz of notifications and interruptions, he rediscovered his ability to think freely and create with purpose. What surprised him the most was how alive he felt. Each stroke of his pencil seemed to bring him closer to something he hadn't felt in years: fulfillment. But here's the twist. His newfound creativity wasn't just about producing art. It spilled into every part of his life. He approached work with fresh ideas, solved problems more efficiently, and even found deeper connections with the people around him. The solitude he once feared became his most powerful tool, helping him align with his true passions and unlock his potential. Science backs this up. Research shows that solitude activates the brain's default mode network, the area responsible for creativity and problem-solving. When we step away from the noise and distractions of daily life, our minds have the freedom to wander, innovate, and explore new possibilities. It's why some of the greatest inventions and artistic works were born in quiet, reflective moments. Now, imagine yourself in his shoes. When was the last time you allowed your mind the space to wander without distractions? Many of us avoid these moments, filling them with social media, endless tasks, or background noise. But what if those quiet moments were the key to your next big breakthrough? Could solitude become the foundation for your own growth and creativity? Here's something simple you can try today. Set aside 30 minutes, turn off your devices, and focus on creating something, anything. Write down a thought, sketch an idea, or brainstorm a project you've been putting off. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be yours. Treat this time as a conversation with your inner self, a moment to explore the depths of your imagination. As Marcus Aurelius taught, the quiet retreat within your soul is always there, waiting for you to visit. The question is, will you take that step? Build emotional independence by sitting with discomfort. Don't hope that events will turn out the way you want. Welcome events in whichever way they happen, said Epictetus. It's a piece of advice that feels simple until you're actually sitting in discomfort. For one woman, this lesson became painfully real after a significant career setback. She had worked tirelessly for a promotion, only to watch it go to someone else. The frustration was immediate, the bitterness overwhelming. Sitting with her thoughts that evening felt like torture. Her first instinct? Escape. She grabbed her phone, opened social media, and began scrolling aimlessly, hoping the images of vacations and smiling friends would somehow distract her. Instead, it only deepened her frustration. She felt like everyone else was thriving while she was stuck. Exhausted, she tossed her phone aside and let out a defeated laugh. Maybe the Stoics had it right, she thought. That night, she remembered something she had read about Stoicism. Discomfort is a natural part of life, not something to fear or avoid. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is endurable, then endure it. Stop complaining." The Stoics believed that facing discomfort head-on, instead of running from it, builds resilience. It wasn't about ignoring pain, but observing it, learning from it, and growing stronger. So she tried something new. Instead of distracting herself, she decided to sit quietly, feeling every ounce of frustration and disappointment. It was awkward at first. 10 minutes of staring at her ceiling felt like hours. But as she allowed herself to feel the emotions fully, something unexpected happened. The frustration began to lose its grip. She noticed thoughts bubbling up. Why did the promotion matter so much? Was she measuring her worth by her title? Was this setback really the end, or just a redirection? The realization hit her. Discomfort wasn't the enemy. Her resistance to it was. By sitting with her feelings, she found clarity and even a touch of humor in the absurdity of her spiraling thoughts. So what if I didn't get this promotion? She thought. At least I'm not the Stoic who had to endure exile or poverty. That small laugh, born of perspective, felt like a breakthrough. And here's the twist. Her emotional independence didn't just show up overnight. Over the following weeks, she made it a habit to sit quietly for 10 minutes each day, observing whatever thoughts and emotions arose. Instead of suppressing them, she treated them like curious visitors, asking, "Why are you here?" The more she practiced, the more resilient she became. She stopped reacting impulsively to challenges and started responding thoughtfully. Discomfort became less of a foe and more of a teacher. Psychologists call this process emotional regulation. Neuroscience confirms that mindfulness practices, like observing thoughts without judgment, strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for rational thinking. By learning to sit with discomfort, she wasn't just building emotional independence, she was rewiring her brain to handle stress more effectively. Think about your own life. How often do you avoid discomfort? Maybe it's a tough conversation you've been putting off, a challenging project you've procrastinated on, or even a lingering sense of dissatisfaction. What if, instead of escaping into distractions, you face those feelings head-on? Could those moments of discomfort actually hold the key to your next breakthrough? Here's a challenge. Tonight, when you're tempted to scroll through your phone or drown out your thoughts with Netflix, take 10 minutes to sit quietly. No distractions, no judgments, just you and your thoughts. It might feel uncomfortable, even strange, but what might you discover if you gave yourself the space to listen? As Epictetus reminds us, life isn't about controlling what happens to us, but how we respond. So the question is, will you keep running from discomfort, or will you embrace it and let it shape you into someone stronger? Reframe loneliness as an opportunity for self-discovery. Nowhere is a person more alone than in their own mind, wrote Seneca. For many, this thought might sound unsettling, even intimidating. But what if that solitude isn't something to dread, but an open door to understanding ourselves better? For one man, the power of reframing loneliness came at a time when he least expected it. After a painful breakup, he found himself in an empty apartment that once felt like home. The silence was deafening, and the loneliness felt like a heavy fog. To escape it, he threw himself into work, scrolling endlessly on social media during breaks and binge-watching TV late into the night. But no matter how much he tried to fill the void, it lingered. One evening, while sifting through a self-help book he bought on a whim, A passage on Stoicism caught his eye. It read, "He who is sufficient unto himself is happy." He paused, closed the book, and muttered, "Yeah, right." The irony of finding that line during a pity party wasn't lost on him, but something stuck. He couldn't shake the idea that loneliness wasn't the villain he made it out to be. It was just there. What if he stopped fighting it? He decided to test the Stoic waters. That night, he turned off the distractions and sat down with a notebook. "What am I really afraid of?" he wrote. At first, nothing came. Then slowly, words began to flow. Fear of failure, fear of being unlovable, fear of never being enough. It wasn't easy to face, but as the words poured out, so did clarity. Loneliness wasn't the monster he'd imagined. It was a mirror reflecting truths he'd been avoiding. Here's the twist. As he leaned into those quiet moments, something shifted. He started journaling every night, using simple prompts like, "What did I learn about myself today?" and "What am I grateful for?" He began seeing loneliness not as a punishment, but as an opportunity to reconnect with himself. The more he embraced it, the more he realized how out of touch he'd been with his own needs and values. Instead of longing for someone else to fill the void, he started enjoying his own company. Modern psychology supports this. Studies show that self-reflection fosters emotional intelligence and resilience. It's not about wallowing in loneliness, but using it as a chance for self-discovery. Like a Stoic, he learned to face his emotions without judgment, finding strength in the process. Think about your own life. How often do you avoid being alone because it feels uncomfortable? What if that discomfort holds the key to understanding what truly drives you? Tonight, take 10 minutes to sit with a pen and paper. Ask yourself one question. What do I need most right now? You might be surprised by the answers. Seneca was right. Your mind is a solitary place. But instead of fearing it, what if you explored it? What might you discover about yourself if you saw loneliness, not as an enemy, but as a teacher? Solitude in the age of overconnection. Be content with what you are and wish not for what you are not, said Marcus Aurelius. It's a piece of Stoic wisdom that feels more relevant now than ever, especially in a world where every swipe and scroll shows us what we're missing. But for one woman, this truth hit home in an unexpected way. She was a self-proclaimed social media junkie. Her morning started with Instagram and ended with TikTok, a steady stream of likes, comments, and endless scrolling. At first, it was fun, a harmless way to stay connected. But slowly, she began noticing something strange. No matter how much she engaged online, she felt more disconnected than ever. The perfectly curated lives of others left her feeling inadequate, even when she was doing just fine. She laughed at memes but couldn't shake the emptiness they left behind. One afternoon, after a particularly draining day of comparison-fueled scrolling, she stumbled upon a quote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Seneca's words felt like a slap to her overconnected brain. She realized she wasn't just using social media to connect, she was using it to avoid herself. That night, she decided to do something radical. She logged off. What came next surprised her. At first, the silence was unbearable. She reached for her phone reflexively, only to remember it was part of the experiment. She laughed at herself. Was she really this dependent? But then, as the hours passed, she noticed something else. Her thoughts, once drowned out by digital noise, started to surface. Ideas she hadn't considered in months bubbled up. Memories she'd forgotten reappeared. And for the first time in a long while, she felt present. Not anxious, not distracted, just here. Here's the twist. Her digital detox wasn't about abandoning technology forever. It was about regaining control. She realized that social media wasn't inherently bad. It was her relationship with it that needed adjustment. By setting boundaries, like a digital detox hour every evening, she reclaimed her time and her peace of mind. Instead of scrolling through endless feeds, she used that time to journal, read, or simply sit with her thoughts. Psychologists call this mindful disconnection, and research backs it up. Studies show that intentional breaks from screens reduce anxiety and improve overall well-being. In essence, she wasn't running away from connection. She was redefining it. Now, think about your own habits. How often do you reach for your phone without even realizing it? What might happen if, for just 1 hour, you stepped away and gave yourself the gift of solitude? Imagine the clarity, the creativity, and the calm you could find in that silence. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, contentment isn't found in the noise of the world, but in the quiet retreat of the soul. So will you take that hour for yourself, or will you let the scrolling continue? The choice, as always, is yours. Journaling, a tool for self-growth. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one, wrote Marcus Aurelius in his Meditations. But here's the catch. He wasn't writing it for anyone else. These words, which have inspired millions, were originally private reflections, a dialogue with himself. For one man, this Stoic practice of journaling became a lifeline when he felt his life spiraling out of control. He was juggling a demanding job, family obligations, and a never-ending to-do list. Every day felt like a race he couldn't win. By the end of the day, he'd collapse on the couch, exhausted but restless, his mind buzzing with unfinished tasks and nagging doubts. One evening, as he flipped through an old notebook, he found a dusty journal he'd abandoned years ago. He laughed at his younger self's dramatic musings, but noticed something. The act of writing had brought clarity back then. Could it work again? Feeling skeptical, he grabbed a pen and wrote one simple question. What's really bothering me today? The words felt awkward at first, like talking to a stranger, but as he wrote, his thoughts were untangled. He realized his stress wasn't just about work, it was about his fear of failing the people who depended on him. That single insight felt like lifting a weight he didn't know he was carrying. Here's where the twist comes in. Journaling didn't just help him that one night. He turned it into a nightly ritual. Some days, he wrote about small wins. Today, I took a 10-minute walk during lunch, and it felt amazing. On other days, he vented his frustrations. Over time, his journal became more than a collection of thoughts. It became a mirror, reflecting patterns he hadn't noticed before. He saw how often his fears were exaggerated and how much progress he was actually making. The humor found its way into his entries, too. One day, after writing a long rant about an annoying coworker, he added, "But hey, at least she doesn't microwave fish in the office anymore." That small joke reminded him not to take everything so seriously. Modern neuroscience confirms what Marcus Aurelius seemed to know instinctively. Journaling activates the brain's prefrontal cortex, which helps regulate emotions and decision-making. It's a mental reset button, allowing us to process our experiences and see them in a new light. Now, let me ask you, when was the last time you wrote something just for yourself? Not a work email, not a shopping list, just your unfiltered thoughts. What might you discover if you gave yourself 5 minutes tonight to jot down a question or a reflection? Maybe something as simple as, what made me smile today? Imagine a future where you can look back at these entries, not just to see how far you've come, but to learn from the wisdom of your own words. As Marcus Aurelius proved, the act of writing isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest with yourself. So will you pick up that pen tonight, or will you let another day pass, waiting for clarity that might already be within you? Create a sanctuary for reflection. Man should not fear solitude, but prepare his soul for it, wrote Seneca. Yet for one woman, solitude felt less like preparation and more like chaos. Her home, the place that should have been her refuge, had turned into a battlefield of clutter. Every surface was covered, bills stacked on the dining table, shoes scattered in the hallway, and books teetering dangerously on every shelf. It wasn't just a messy house. It was a messy mind. One evening, after tripping over yet another pair of shoes, she paused mid-grumble. She couldn't keep living like this. The Stoics often spoke of harmony between the external and the internal. Could her chaotic environment be reflecting her chaotic thoughts? Laughing to herself, she muttered, "If Marcus Aurelius saw this, he'd probably write me a meditation about it." She decided it was time for a change. Starting with her favorite corner of the house, she cleared away everything that didn't serve a purpose. She brought in a comfortable chair, added a small table for her journal, and lit a simple candle. She called it her reflection corner. At first it felt indulgent, almost unnecessary, but the first time she sat there, free from distractions, something shifted. The silence wasn't overwhelming anymore. It felt intentional, almost sacred. The twist came a week later when she realized her little sanctuary was influencing more than just her alone time. The act of creating order in that one space spilled into other parts of her life. She started tidying her desk at work, making her bed every morning, and even rethinking how she spent her time. What began as a small, symbolic act became a catalyst for a broader sense of clarity and peace. Research in environmental psychology supports this idea. Studies show that a clean, intentional environment reduces stress and improves focus. It's not about having a Pinterest-perfect home, but about creating a space that reflects your inner values. For her, this wasn't just about cleaning. It was about reclaiming a sense of control and peace. Now, think about your own space. Is it a place where you can truly reflect, or does it feel like a to-do list staring back at you? How might creating a small sanctuary, a corner just for yourself, change the way you approach your day? Maybe it's a chair by the window, a spot in the garden, or even just a cleared section of your desk. What matters is that it feels like yours. As Seneca taught, preparing your soul begins with preparing your space. So will you take the time to create a sanctuary for reflection, or will you let the clutter of life keep you from finding peace? The choice, as always, is yours. Tap into nature for mindful presence. Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished, said Lao Tzu, echoing a sentiment deeply resonant with Stoic philosophy. Marcus Aurelius himself often found clarity and wisdom in observing the natural world. For one man, this lesson came alive during a particularly stressful season of life. He was a city dweller, constantly surrounded by the hum of traffic, the buzz of notifications, and the demands of a busy office. His days felt like a never-ending to-do list, and his nights offered little relief. One weekend, after missing yet another deadline and snapping at a coworker, he knew something had to change. A friend jokingly suggested he go hug a tree. He rolled his eyes, but decided he'd at least take a walk in the park. What could it hurt? That Sunday, he found himself in a nearby nature reserve, feeling out of place and slightly ridiculous in his office shoes. At first, all he noticed was how out of touch he felt. But as he walked further into the trees, something shifted. He stopped, almost without realizing it, and just listened. The rustling leaves, the chirping birds, the faint trickle of a stream, it all felt calming. He chuckled to himself. So this is what they mean by grounding. The unexpected twist came as he made this walk a weekly habit. He noticed that the quiet moments in nature were doing more than just relaxing him. They were changing his perspective. Problems that once seemed insurmountable felt smaller after a few hours among the trees. The natural world, with its effortless cycles and quiet persistence, reminded him of the Stoic idea that many things are outside our control, but how we respond is always within our grasp. Modern science backs up what the Stoics and poets have always known. Studies show that spending time in nature lowers cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and improves overall mental clarity. It's not just about fresh air, it's about reconnecting with something larger than yourself. Now let's bring this back to you. When was the last time you stepped away from the screens, the noise, and the demands of life to simply be in nature? Not to log a run or snap a photo for Instagram, but to observe, to breathe, and to reflect. Could a quiet moment under a tree or by a stream bring you the clarity you've been seeking? Here's a thought. Find a park, a trail, or even a quiet patch of grass, and spend just 20 minutes there. Leave your phone behind if you can, or at least put it on silent. Pay attention to the sounds, the textures, the smells. As Marcus Aurelius might remind us, nature is always there, offering lessons if we're willing to listen. So, will you take that step into the natural world, or will you let the noise of life drown out its quiet wisdom? The choice, as always, is yours. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one, Marcus Aurelius reminds us. The same applies to solitude. It's not about debating its value, but embracing it as a tool for growth, creativity, and peace. Today, we've explored 7 Stoic strategies that transform alone time into an opportunity for self-discovery, emotional resilience, and mindful connection with the world around us. Now it's your turn to apply these lessons. Start small. Dedicate a few minutes each day to journaling, reflecting, or stepping outside into nature. Create a space in your home that feels like a sanctuary. Turn off distractions and truly sit with your thoughts. These small intentional steps can lead to profound changes over time. Imagine how different your life could feel if you turned solitude into a source of strength instead of discomfort. What's one practice you'll start with? Will it be journaling, a digital detox, or maybe a quiet walk in the park? Let us know in the comments below. Your reflections might inspire someone else on their journey too. If you found value in this video, hit like to show your support, and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official. Join a community dedicated to exploring the wisdom of Stoicism and applying it to modern life. Until next time, remember, the power of solitude is within your reach. It's time to embrace it.